Hi everyone, welcome once again. After a long time, I am posting some video here. So here we are going to use Python, and we will see that how to pre-process tax data for machine learning. Also, we'll compare multiple machine learning models. That is very important if you are working on NLP. Then we need to know that which machine learning model will be better and which is the worst for the NLP, right? And also we'll use TensorFlow also in this session. The main agenda of this session is that how we can use Python to pre-process the tax data, what kind of various steps are available there, and further we will compare the machine learning models, different machine learning models. Also we will see that which one is the best one and which one is the worst one in this case, and further we'll use the TensorFlow also. Okay, this is the main, this is the basic way that you can proceed if you are a beginner, that how, if you don't know how to use the NLP with Python or on any other languages, if you are using, the steps are the same. So the basic steps we are going to discuss. The data which I am going to use, that is sarcasm detection first of all, and it is a JSON format, the data which I have, sarcasm headlines. So basically there are headlines from different news, and we have to classify this headlines, that if it is a sarcasm or it is not a sarcasm kind of data. So the data which I have downloaded, let me switch and show you. So you can go on Kaggle and you can download the data. So you don't actually require to download this data, you can use the steps which I am using for your data. So this is the data, and from here I have downloaded. So there are around 30,000 rows are available there. Okay, so we'll use that data. We'll use two libraries which are mostly used in Python for NLP, that is NLTK we are going to use, and another for machine learning we'll use scikit-learn, and for deep learning model we are going to use TensorFlow in this case. Okay, first of all, if you want to read data, I am using here Jupyter. So it's very easy, you are already aware how to install the Jupyter here, and Python version which I am using, that is 3 here. To import JSON file in MATLAB, first of all we have to import the library. So simple command, import the JSON library here. So it is already inbuilt in Python. When you once you install the Python, and in a single line you can import it. So these data are in a sequence. So what I am doing here, I am creating one function here, iterative function, yield, because I am not using return, so it will give us a iterative function here, right? So once we have this function, and we can apply the data which we have. So I have this data available here already, I have saved somewhere. In this folder we have this data. Okay, so simply this is a .json file. So I have created one iterative function for that. So once we have this function, once we apply this data inside this function, we will get an iterative variable here. So here we are converting it as a list, and then we will get the complete data. So let me execute this one, and I will show you here data how it looks like. Simply if I type the data, and you see that we have this text available, right? So once if I give the length of it, we can know that how many rows are available. Just 26,709 rows are around available here. So this is the first step. Now this data, as we saw that this data in the form of list. So what we are going to do, we are going to convert this data as a data frame here. So simple, you can import the pandas library here. So once we have pandas package, just simply in a single line command you can create in a data frame, so it will looks like a table. So if I go below, and if I type here tf dot head, I want to see just 5 top rows from here. So here we have this data. So you see that we have the links, so we don't require this article links from here. Simply we require this column for first column, sorry, this second column, and this last one, that is third, is sarcastic or not. So 0 means non-sarcastic headline and 1 means it is the sarcastic, but these data are imbalanced. So for the easiness, what I am going to do in this case, I will split the data first of all in as a sarcasm and not a sarcasm. Then I will equalize that data. Then further we are going to do a process. Okay, second step, what we can do here, simply we can drop the duplicate rows. If there is any duplicate rows, we can drop it from here. So simply this is my data here, drop the duplicates in place true. So I don't want to save it again in different variable, so it automatically will be saved in a df. So in place true here. Then okay, once some rows are dropped which are duplicates, we have to reset the index also, because here if we go, there is a proper indexing of this, right? So let's say the 2 is dropped, then the next index will be 3 if it is dropped. So that's why we are resetting the index also from there. Okay, once we have this, now we are going to extract all rows where the value is 0 in this column is sarcastic, that is the last column. So we will get the non-sarcastic data, and here we are extracting all rows where we have the sarcastic one, that is 1, right? So this is the column name here. So if you see here df dot columns, if you give this command, we will get all the columns. We are comparing with this column and we are extracting all the rows based on the 0 and 1 in this case. Okay, next step is we see that data are imbalanced, right? 40,984 are non-sarcastic and 11,000 are sarcastic. So we are just balancing. Because I have a big data, I don't have issue. If I had no big data, let's say if I had only 100 to 200 rows only, so I did not to do this process which I am equalizing here. So what I am doing, simply I am using concat to concatenate this both one. Total samples from non-sarcastic I am going to take 11,724, because in sarcasm also we have 11,724 here, right? Once we have this data, then again we are resetting the index. So it will be in the sequential form, the index will be in the sequential form. One thing more, it is very important, I have this original one, and once you start the processing on your data, just make a copy of that. Otherwise you will face some issues, maybe sometimes, that what will happen here, that directly if you work on this, if you are doing some modification, that it will be modified in the parent data also. That's why make a copy and do this task, right? Okay. Next step is whatever the text we have here. So let me run this again and show you the text which we have here, right? So not this one, just 1 minute. So what we are going to do there, in upper and lower case, or second step is to make it all a lower, because we are going to do analysis on that text, the headlines which we have here. So this is a very simple one line command you can do like this. Simply lambda is used to create one in a single line function. You can use in Python to create a single line function. So what I am doing, I am extracting the headline column and saving it as well as a headline, and I am applying here lambda function on every row, and I am making it lower, because in every rows of this column we have text only. So remember, if you have a missing data, then you have to write a function for that. If there is missing, then replace with the missing, else make it lower. So in my case, we don't have any missing data, so directly I can apply the lambda function here. So whatever the text are there, either it is upper or lower, so all will be converted as a lower in this form. This is the second. So we have data as a ds here. Okay, now you require to install this NLTK kit. So simply pip install nltk, and once we have done, you can install. So once we have this data, we require to tokenize this data. So simply in a Python form, what we are doing, we are simply splitting our data, because data we have as a text, we are going to convert as a list. So I am just importing from tokenize, import word tokenize. This is used to split your sentence in words, and this library is used to split your paragraph in a sentence. So I have already in a form of a sentence, so I will use word tokenize here. So again, on every column I am applying here, so simply word underscore tokenize, this is a function, and on every row I am applying it. Once I will run this and I will apply this, it will take a little time. Now if you see, if I type here ds, and you see here that these words are tokenized here, right? So we have this one, perfect. So we have in the form of list. Okay, now in words, let's say that ds, I am going to extract the first one, sorry, this one, and first row from this column. See, sorry, okay, I forgot to give a single quote here. So you see that in this case this is fine. Maybe there you see we have a single word, also some special characters are also there, or some repeated words, means the words which are repeating frequently in every sentence, like a, and, the, is, are. I want to remove that words from here. Okay, so to do that, simply in NLTK kit we have this stock word libraries available here. So if I import this, and if I type here stop word, the words which we don't require, because we require unique features from them. So simply if I type this, you will see that here we have some words available here. So it is already saved here. So first time when you run this, it will ask you to download. So in my case, it is downloaded here, the stock words which we have. So final I will show you that stock words. Okay, so next step, I am creating a set of the words and special characters which I don't require for my machine learning. So what I am doing here, simply I am going to use stop words for the English words, and also you see that from string, this is an inbuilt library string, punctuations where we have some special characters like single quote, double quote, like this. We are simply, if I type here punctuation, and you will see that all this is special character. I don't require this special characters, right? So I have created a set here of them. So if I go here below, simply if I type custom words, I will get all that special characters, and all that words which I don't require, which are repeated, like themselves, then, there, this, they are frequently repeated. These are not very important for my NLP. These are not a feature for me actually, so I want to remove this. So there is one trick again to do this task. Simply create one function. Let's say that this is the row where I want to apply, where I want to remove these words, custom words, right? So what I'm doing, because in every row we have as a list, right? So what I'm doing here, simply reading every word from the list in that specific row, from that specific row. If it is not in custom words, then append that. That's very simple. That if whatever the words I require, if it is not in this custom words, then append that and return that output. That's very simple here, right? So once we have this function, so instead of lambda function, I am just applying this function here. So remember, you don't have to use this parenthesis bracket here. Okay, so once I will apply, we will have this stop words. So in this, simply if I type here, we'll get that words here, right? Perfect. So all that words which I don't require, they are removed. So still you see that we have a single letter words that also we require to remove from here. So in the next section we will do that things also. Okay, in that case, one thing more here I am doing, if I have single quote in my words anywhere. I don't require that single quote. So again I am extracting every row. So I am writing a function for a row, and wherever I have a single quote I am removing that, right? This is a function for that. And once it is done, I am just applying here on stop words. So if I run this again, you will not find any a single quote, because single quote means nothing. That is not a feature actually. It's just, that's why we are removing this noise also, single quote. Next is lematize. So what is a lematize? Let's say that I am saying roasted nuts, or the nut is roasted. So two things are there, roasted nuts. If I'm saying roasted nuts, roasted is an adjective there, right? And if I'm saying the nuts are roasted, in that case roasted is a verb, right? So you have to identify which is the noun, means the tag of part of his speech, and based on that we are going to lematize our data. Okay, so first of all we have to identify the word, if it is a noun or if it is adjective or it is a verb. Based on that we are just decreasing the size of word. So in the case of let's say is, the original form of is be, right? Or if I am saying posted, I have posted. So in this case the original word of posted is post, right? So first of all we have to find out posted is a noun or posted is a verb or it is acting as an adjective. For that, in NLTK we have a post tag. So it will let you know that in word, that word is on what kind of part of his speech that word is, using tag. So POS means part of his speech tag. Okay, and this function we are going to use to decrease the size of word, to make it in a original form, like posted as a post. Okay, because there is one library WordNet, as I was discussing here. So synsets command is, when you give, it will give you the meaning of mouse. So you see that you see here that there can be multiple meanings of a single word, right? So I am extracting the first definition of that. It says that any of numerous small rodents, that's talking about rodents here, right? Resembling diminutive rats having pointed snouts and small, is talking about. But let's see that at index number 1 what is the meaning of this word. So it's saying that a swollen bruise caused by a blow of the eye, like this. If I give 3, then it will give me the different meaning. So as I told, if I am saying roasted nuts or the nuts are roasted, there are two different meanings. One is adjective, another is verb, right? So these things are very important to identify. Okay, in WordNet, how adjective is represented in a single text as a R. For example, here you see I am applying this part of a speech tag here, and when I run this, it says that it is verb, right? Extracted it. What kind of this word is, right? Perfect. So what we require to lematize this, we require this first letter from this. So to do this, it is very simple, because this is in a list. In list we have this, right? So simply first, if I run this, I will get, okay, just 1 minute, I have forgot to run this. Sorry, it is an index number 0. So we have a posted. So as I told that I require to extract this to feed in this lematizer. Okay, so it will be at index number 1, so we will get the VVN, right? Now if I do 0, then I will get capital V. So I want in a lower form, so simply lower. So this is a trick which I am applying here. So I need this. So in this case, you see, as a default, if I use this lematizer, it will consider always the word which I am giving as a noun. It will always consider as a noun, right? Like if I press the tab here, you see that the part of his speech is noun, but it is not a noun, right? It is verb. So what is the original form of this? If I run this, it's saying R, because the post tag is noun, right? If I type here as a V, you will see that this is in the original format, is as a V. So you have to provide that tag. First step, we have to identify the tag, then we have to apply this. And how to extract the tag, this is the way how we do. Okay, so next step, same thing we are doing. I am creating one dictionary here. Z denote to adjective, noun denote to noun. Means if I feed Z, it will tell me that this is an adjective and this is the noun, this is the word. Okay, so five part of speech, I mean five part of speech, like noun, adjective, verb and adverb. Sorry, four is there in this case, right? We are extracting here. Okay, so what kind of part tags are available there? So this is a link here, you can see CD is cardinal digit, DT is determiner. So different kind of tags it can be extracted using that post tag here, right? Like VV is the verb based form, VVD is the past tense form, right? We whichever start from capital V, that all are verbs, so we don't have issues. So simply we require a single V from here, right? Same for the noun also. So again, what I am doing here, see how I am applying that function which we have, this lemmatize. Okay, so there is again one trick. So first of all, I have created one dictionary, then I am creating a function. Let's say this is the row of text where we have to apply. Then again I am running for W in row, because row is in the form of list, already we saw before. Then post underscore tag, I am applying this to extract that what kind of part of speech is there. So I am extracting this W here, I am providing as an input to post tag. So always we use the square bracket to provide, and language also we have to mention. So it is in English, then we are going to use the English, right? Again I am applying 010. From where we got that 010? From here, right? 010, and we are converting as a lower, because when we are going to lemmatize, we have to provide in a lower form. So here I have provided here post tag, then we are getting in the upper form. As I told that we need in a lower form, but still I am doing here in a upper form. I will let you know why. So once we have tag here as a Z and V and R, now lemmatizer dot lemmatize this word which we are getting from here, from every list, I mean from the list, from every index. And here you see the inputs are in the capital, because we have to extract this part. Remember, if I go up here, if I have to find out what is the sign for adjective, what is the annotation for the adjective, it is smaller, right? That's why I have done here in capital letter. Okay, so so we will have multiple words in a list, so we are appending here. Then this lemmatizer dot lemmatize, because this is the function which we have created here above, right? So this function we are using here. And if I go below, W is the word, I have to identify what kind of part of speech is there, right? Then tag underscore dict, the dictionary which we have created, dot get. Why I'm using dot get? Instead of dot get, I can use directly tag here also, because I have mentioned only 4 part of speech here, like this one, right? Adjective, noun, verb. So there can be another other part of speech also. So what I am doing, if this tag exists in this, then assign it here. If these tags are not available in this tag, then treat it as a default as a noun. Treat it default as a noun. Okay, so what I am doing, I am just applying the adjective, noun, verb and adverb only. Apart from that, it will treat it as a default noun, because I showed you here already above that if I don't assign the tag here, automatically it will detect as a noun, right? That's all. So once we will run this, it will lemmatize the word based on the part of speech, and then I am creating one new column here. So once I will execute this, and if you see here, we will have a lemmatized word in my table. So here we have all this lemmatized. Wherever we had in the past tense, present tense, whatever in adjective or noun, they are lemmatized, and they all words are in a original form right now. Okay, now next step, we are going to join that words. Why I am going to join that words? Because if you see here, if I run this, you see that still we have single words which we don't require, right? We have to remove this single letter words from here. So what I am doing, a simple command is there. So again I am applying the lambda function. So whatever the list we have in every row, that will be joined as a text. So if I run this one, and if you see, if I go below again, ds feature word, so you see that again it is in the original form. Now we don't have in as a list form, right? We have as a complete sentence here. So once we have this, we are going to use the regular expression. Regular expression, again, it is inbuilt function in MATLAB. So what I am doing, wherever I have first word, this question mark is showing that single word I am going to take, means single letter, and what we are going to take, words we are going to take, it shows the end one. So single, start with the word and end, start with the single letter and end with the single letter. So what I am doing, I am just replacing with a blank, because I don't require that single word from there. If you want to know more about RE, so sub is used to substitute. So if I have similar kind of expression like this, it will be substituted by this single word, okay? Means that will be removed from there. So if you want to know more about RE, there is a link I will share. You can go in python.org library. So here it's mentioned that how it works, this question mark and different kind of expressions. You can create regular expressions to extract different kind of words, numeric, alphanumeric, using RE, okay? Okay, once I will extract this, and if I run this, and you will see that we don't have a single word before the, because I have saved as a feature word. Now our words are ready. Now we have to extract the feature from there. Okay, now you see here we don't have a single letter words here available, right? That they are removed from there. Now we require to vectorize this, means we need a bag of words. So there are three different algorithms are there. One is count vectorizer library is available, one is hashing way, and one is tfit vectorizer. So all three we will discuss, but in this example I am going to use hashing, okay? So because any machine learning will not accept any text directly as an input, so always we require to convert our text data in a numeric form. So first, which you can use, count vectorizer. What is now count vectorizer? What it will do, in every sentence it will count how many times the words are repeated, and it will give an index for that. Let's say that hi, I am going somewhere. So let's say hi is at index number 1, am is at index number 2, going is at index number 3. So that going, how many times they are repeated, it will count that and it will index that count, and that index will be not changed. If I am saying hi, I am going somewhere, hi is at index number 1, so every time it will be at index number 1. Otherwise there will be issue for machine learning, right? So we are converting words in an index form, and we are putting the count of that words also at every index, right? If it is repeated one time, then it will be one only there. Perfect. Okay, so this is the way, first way, and once you will apply this function, you will get a set of features from there. Another is tfit vectorizer. So the full definition of this algo is term frequency inverse document frequency. It means term frequency means it will first identify how many times words are repeated. Inverse document frequency means how rarely the words are available there, because to extract the unique features we require a rare words, right? So if you use this, it will give the weightage. If the words is less frequent, it will be a given high weightage, else it will be given as a low weightage. So if any word is repeating many times, that will have a low weight. So you may say it will calculate the probability or score kind of things. So low score means that word is repeated many times, less score means the word is repeated less time. So you can use this function also. tfit vectorizer, simply from sklearn you have to import, from feature extraction you have to import the count vectorizer. Same, from the same module you can export this, import this one also, not export actually, you can import this one also. So in my case I am going to use hashing vector. So what is hashing vector here actually? So let me show you what is the hashing vector. Okay, here what it does, it will encode your word. First thing, let's say that I have millions of words, and if you train the all millions of words, if you count from whole data document, let's say that total counts are millions, your processing will be very slow when you run a machine learning model on a simple machine. That's why we use hashing vector to minimize the features. What it does here, simply whatever the words you have, and default in scikit-learn, it encode that data in a 32-bit version of murmur hash, the algo which the formula, the algorithm which it used to convert it. And here if you see, I have, as I told that in this case there are around 30,000 words are available there, but I want 10,000 only, so I have assigned 10,000 only. So what about the remaining 20,000? What will happen with that? So that will not remove actually. What it will do, it will make a group of similar words. If I put the value 10,000, so there are 30,000, somewhere it will be 1, somewhere it will be 2, somewhere it will be 3 in the my feature. So simply, first of all, it is encoding, as we saw, it is encoding in a 32-bit version, and it is making a group of words. Only instead of 30,000, it will take only 10,000 feature. It will extract the 10,000 features only from there. Okay, but there is one drawback of this. Once it is encoded, you cannot decode that. So remember, in this case, if you are using this count vectorization, in this case you can decode it and you can identify at what index what kind of words is there. But if you use hashing, you cannot decode that. Okay, but in my case I have lots of words, or you may use this one also, or you can use simply count vectorizer also. It's on you. So if you use this one, then you can decode it also. In this case it cannot be decoded, but we will have the feature. Okay, so from feature extraction from the text, I am just importing this here. Once we have this, we are creating one model. So you may say this is a blank model where features are provided. How many features I want? I don't want to normalize that feature between 0 to 1. Also, I don't want the alternate signs also. Why I don't want alternate signs? If I do alternate sign true, I will get negative values also. But these are words. I want my value will be 0 or 1 only, 0 or 2 only in a count form, you may say. Okay, why I need positive values? Because I am going to use chi-square in the next step to remove the redundant features. So that is a feature selection. I want some important features only. I don't want all features from there. So from 10,000 I will remove 9,000, only 1,000 features I will use. That is a part of a feature selection. So in chi-square it always use positive features, not negative features. That's why alternate sign false. I don't want to normalize also. Okay, now one more thing is there, n-gram. What is n-gram here? That is also very important. Let me show somewhere, it will be there. N-gram. Okay, I have opened some, I will share these links for your reference. Okay, let me explain what is the n-gram. So see what will be the sequence of your words here. In this case n-gram is 1. Let's say that I am saying hi, I am going somewhere. So if n-gram value is 1 into 1, means only one word I want in one feature. Okay, I don't want in a sequence. If n-gram value is 2, the gram value is 2, then my feature will be extracted like this: hi, I, then I am going, and going somewhere. So there can be a n-grams also. When you require this n-grams actually in a sequence form, when we have to predict the next word, like I said, hi, I am, what will be the next word? I am going, right? In that case you can make your n-gram range 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, 1 to 4 or 4, 5, like the repeated values, right? So these are the n-gram. So in this case I just require only one word. I don't want sequential kind of words, 2 words, 3 words, like hi, I am going, like this. I don't want. Okay, perfect. So far so good. So no issue, I hope. Okay, so now We have created one blank model simply with the features, that what features I want, what is the property of my hashing vectorizer. Once we have this, then we feed that model. Once you give this function fit, it will fit on your data, and you see that the ds is the data structure, I mean the table which I have created using pandas, and from there this feature column I am taking and I am applying this function, I am fitting that. So it will just feed that. Why this function you will require when you are going to apply a new data for the testing purpose or live data. So in that case you will require this model, but to transform in the feature we use this transform. So you see what I am doing. So first of all, I have created one blank model with the properties, and then we have fitted that. So it will extract the columns, it will extract the words, what words will be required for the later I can apply for the new data. So once on this model you see that again I am using transform, and same column I am using and I am converting to array, not only to array, and you see that I am converting in a form of data frame, pd.data frame I am using, which we imported above, right? So once I will show you here, so you can see these features just below. Just simply if I type vec, and you see that from that word these features are extracted. In this case I am using hashing, I don't know at zero index what word is there, at one what word is there, but yes, 10,000 features are extracted. And if I have to apply the on new data, simply I have to use this function vec model dot transform and apply the new data. Similar way you will get the features and you can predict on that. Okay, so now we have this. What I am doing here, I am going to concatenate these features in the same table. So again concat pd.concat, and this is the original one and this is the predicted one, I mean transformed one. So if I go below after executing this, if I type ds, sorry, it is saved here in the feed table, right? So now if I go simply if I type feed table, okay, let me copy this here, simple, that's very simple. The paste is dot columns. So how many columns are there? So you see that how many columns are here available. So we don't have any name of the feature, so as a default it is saved as a 1 0 1 2 3 till 9999, 0 to 9999. So total 10,000 features are saved, right? Perfect. So from this feed table with the features, I don't require some columns for the training purpose. So I am removing that, dropping that columns. So like article links I don't require, tokenize I don't require because that is already processed. Stop words, after removing the unwanted words, I don't require that column also, right? After lemmatization also I don't require that, only I require the features. Simply I am dropping that, then I am dropping the duplicates. If there is any duplicate, then I am resetting the index. That is the optional which you can try. Okay, now next part is to extract the features and target and split the data for the training testing. So before that we use chi-square to select the important features. Okay, so chi-square work very well if you have a categorical data or discrete data. So in this case we all data we have in a discrete form. So you see here what I am doing here, simply from that table, from column number 3 to all we have feature 10,000, and this column is sarcastic is the column which is output, that is target. So you see if I type simply y, we have the target with respect to features, and if I type the x, and we have all the features 10,000. Now we are going to use chi-square. So there are different ways you can use scikit-learn to extract the features. Important thing is that you have to know which algorithm will be suitable for your data, because chi-square is very good for the categorical data. There are different feature selection ways that work for the regression. This is part of the classification. So in this case, again feature selection library, from here I am just selecting two functions here. So these are simply class here. So select k-based, means k-based means how many number of based features I want to extract, and what kind of algo I am going to use, that is chi-square. So select best. Again you see I have created one blank model with properties, right? I'm going to use chi-square and how many number of features I want. So 1000 I want, simply 1000. Then dot fit, if I do, it will transform my all features. Okay, so why it is required? This a function you will require when you have a new data. So you don't have to run it from scratch, because when you run this, if you run from here, then this one, then maybe the new documents which you have, maybe there will be different new words, so everything will be clumsy and it will be mixed. So once you have done on this existing data which you have right now, next when you apply, always use this one, not this. You don't have to use this because already you have model, it is fitted, right? Now once I give the transform, I will get all the features, 10,000 features, sorry, 1000 features. So let me show you that what kind of more feature selection algorithms are there. So there is a ANOVA, also analysis of variance also you can use. You have mutual information for a discrete target. So instead of chi-square, this also work for the discrete target. You can choose this. These are the libraries available in scikit-learn. So this, see, F regression is used if you are doing regression, not classification, right? So chi-square is stated of non-negative feature. That's why I was not converting the negative. If you have negative features, never use chi-square, you will not have a good output. So here everything is mentioned here. And when you click on any, like, let's say if I'm going on this one, and here how you can apply this, so you can go through that, simple, right? That's very simple how to apply. And if you scroll below, you will get some examples also how to use chi-square for the feature selection. Okay, so I have this model here AAS, then I will use the transform and I will get all the features 1000. Here k value is 1000, so we are going to get only 1000 features only. So this is a basic step which you can apply actually. I actually more advanced you can do here if you want. You can apply some kind of different distance, k nearest neighbors, or different kind of algorithms to select the features, right? And more pre-processings you can apply. But the steps which you see, always you are going to use these steps. You cannot discard these steps. So you see that we have this 1000 features. So if I give the command simply length of this, I will get the how many features we have. So these are the samples actually, total to 23,341. Okay, so total samples we have here, and 10,000 features are extracted from there. So next step is to split that features which we got from there, XNew. So see what we are doing here. So y we have as output, and 10,000 features we have here, right? With somewhere 23,000 samples are there, right? We check from the length. Okay, so we have one library available in scikit-learn, sklearn. We are going to use train test split. So we are applying this function. See here, it is also very important. When you are going to split this data, you will get 4 outputs: xtrain, xtest, means how many number of samples are in xtrain, total samples, then in xtest, then with respect to xtrain and xtest, we are getting the output, the classes, right, for the training and the validation, 2 things, right? So these are the inputs we are providing in this function. So we have this one, then we have this output as a y, see, 0101 form, right? Okay, now 0.3 test size. What will be the test size? 0.3 means 30%. 30% we are going to use for the testing, and remaining 70% we are going to use for training. Random state 0. So why I have provided random state? Random state you can provide any number, but you have to remember what number you have provided. So if I provide a random state with some value, it means whenever I will run, my data will be splitted in the same form, in the same index. My index will be not shuffled. So whenever I run more than one times, I don't want to shuffle my index every time. That's why I have provided a fixed value. Stratify is equal to y. Y is what here? Output. I want that my data will be divided based on the classes, based on the output, that is here y. Because let's say that in some cases you have let's say you have 1000 samples. In 1000 samples, let's say 100 are as no and remaining 300 are as yes. So when you don't provide this stratify, maybe that all no will be in the training, and there will be no single yes no sorry no single no sample will be in the testing. So what I am doing, it doesn't matter how many number of classes do I have, in equal ratio I am splitting our data as a training and testing. So always we use stratify. As I told, in 1000 I have 700 as a no and 300 as a yes, and if I don't use stratify, maybe all no's will be in the training and we don't have the single no in a testing. So always you will get the bad accuracy, because that no's are in the training, only you are predicting one yes. Or let's say that if you have yes only 300 samples out of 1000, and all yes are in the training, and or let's say all yes are in the testing, not in the no, sorry, not in the sorry let's say that you have a 300 yes and 700 no, and let's say 300 yes are in the testing only, and it is not classified, it is not trained during the model. In that case you will face the issue, because no's are yes are not trained, right? So that's why we use the stratify. To equally number of ratio, we are going to do equal ratio, it will be divided based on the equal ratio for the training and for the testing. Okay, here we will start. So I am not going to run this model. If I run this, it will take 5 to 10 minutes for logistic regression. So simply you have to import this, and again here random state I have provided. So if I run next time, again my data will be splitted based on the same index which are used here. And what solver I am going to use to solve this. So from sklearn, this is a linear model, logistic regression, and you remember logistic regression is based on the probability. Again, if you have a NLP kind of data, natural language data or text data, which I am talking about right now, always that machine learning model will be the best, which will be based on the probability. Logistic regression is based on the probability, and you see this here. I am comparing. Logistic regression is based on the probability. What we do, we fit the linear model, then we take the sigmoid of that. It is converted between 0 to 1, and to optimize this model, the optimizer which we use, the function which we use for the optimization, we use cross entropy, right? This is based on that probability, right? In this case it will take a little time. If I run here, you see, so it is still fitting. So in this case you see that it is still faster, and the accuracy which we are getting on the training data 0.79, and the score which we are getting 0.758. So still it is better. It is not, you may not say this is a underfitting kind of or overfitting, right? Because 79% is the perfect fit for the training, and 75 we are getting on testing data. That's fine. But if you use some different algorithms, which I will show you, you will get the highly overfitting, and I will tell you the reason that why it is highly overfitting. Okay, that's perfect. So it's working fine. We tested, and this logistic regression. So logistic regression is based if you have only two classes, and it work perfectly if you have either continuous data as a predictor or mixed kind of data you have. Either you have using one hot encoding, that works perfect if you have two classes only. For the two classes, logistic regression is the best, and you can see here also, right? Now confusion matrix. So here is the confusion chart of that. So you can import from scikit-learn, again confusion matrix from sklearn, and you can provide the input as a original and the predicted one. It will give you the confusion. I have converted a data frame for, so it is a readable here. So you see here that on row wise we have the true, on the column wise we have predicted. You see that from column wise, if you go, 2760 are correctly predicted as a non-sarcastic, and 943 from true sarcastic is predicted false in a non-sarcastic, right? So row, if you go diagonally, they are correctly predicted, and remainings are wrongly predicted. So if I go in this case, 2552 are correctly predicted as a true sarcastic, and 748 are wrongly classified as a true sarcastic. Okay, and if you go row wise, that is the total sum of true non-sarcastic and true sarcastic. Okay, now AOC curve, that is very important. ROC and AOC curve. So here I am showing you what is the ROC curve here. First of all, this line which you see, that is a 50% prediction. If this curve which you see, orange one, if it is coming below this blue line, your model is not perfect. You have to modify your model, you have to do a further pre-processing to get the good models. In this case, you see that my ROC curve for the logistic regression is 0.84, so 84% accuracy you may say. So what is this plot? This plot is true positive rate with false positive rate. Okay, so now as I told, this is based on the probability. The classification models are based on the probability, the output which we get, right? So in this case, what is happening, as a default, what it does, if it is above 0.5, it will be predicted as, let's say, high, and if it is below 0.5, it will be predicted as a low, means no or yes. So this plot say shows that on different threshold value, what is the true positive rate, what is the false positive rate, and this is the graph of that. How will you get that threshold value? As a default, it is 0.5. So there is a simple, just import this from scikit-learn, and here you will get the score, ROC AOC curve, and you will get the score from here. And remember, it is important, what is the true positive for you. In my case, true positive is if it is predicted as a sarcasm or not. Okay, so here you will get the score, different probability, different threshold value. Why it is important? Let's say people will say that if it is sarcasm or not, I want yes 100% correctly predicted. I don't care about no if it is sarcasm, but yes, I want 100%. So from this graph, you can calculate the which will be the good set point, which will be the good threshold value to do that. That's why we plot this ROC curve. Okay. So there is a simple function to do that. Just import this library from scikit-learn and ROC underscore curve. You will get the false positive rate, true positive rate, right? But only the thing is that you have to define that which will be the true one for you and which will be the false one. So because true probability when you will get when you use this predict proba, one probability will be for the false one and one probability will be for the true one. Whichever will have the highest probability, that will be the class for that. Okay, so you have to define that, and I am assuming that if it is sarcastic, yes, then it is the true for me, true positive. So this is the ROC curves. It has to be not below. If it is at 90 degree, then it is the perfect. So in my case, it is coming 0.84. So that is also fine, not bad, right? After this less pre-processing, right? Okay, now regression tree. Regression tree will be the worst condition. You see here, I am using regression tree, and here I am getting the accuracy, training accuracy 0.93 and testing is 0.67. Highly overfitted, highly biased model in this case. So what is the reason that tree is not working on that? Let me tell you, my matrix is sparse. The predictors are sparse, 0 or 1 only, right? So in that case, how first of all this regression tree work? So let's simply, let me search here regression tree. Okay, so it's worked like this. Okay, I have multiple predictors. In this case, we have two predictors. If it is greater than, let's say, there's some threshold values. In this case, threshold value is what? 0 or 1 only. If it is okay, if it is 1, then assign that yes or no. If it is 0, then assign if it is sarcastic or not sarcastic. Very easily it can be assigned. Very easily. If during machine learning, if anything is easily assigned, if anything is easily classified, it means that will be the reason of overfitting. That's what it is happening here. So it works like this. It compare with a different threshold value. So there is a different way how to identify from which predictor to start. Okay, so you can choose that options also. Different algorithms are there available. I am using the default one. Okay, so or let's say this one, survival of passengers on the Titanic. Okay, gender, if it is male, what is the age, if he died or not, what is the probability of that? Here you see, right? It's saying if a person is died or not, like this. So In our case, why we are getting the overfitting? Because our predictors are not continuous, and it is very easily it is assigning based on the 0 and 1 value. That's why accuracy during training we are getting high, but on the testing we are getting low. So always remember, if your predictors are discrete, totally discrete, don't use decision tree or regression tree or whatever you are using. Don't use decision tree. Always probability kind of model will be the best for NLP. So you can use decision tree, regression tree also, whatever, depends on you, but you have to optimize properly. You have to tune the hyperparameter, then only you will get. Easily you are not going to get the result, always you will get the overfitting. So what it does, it split the data, 0 into 1 form, so very easily it can be assigned. Zeros are there, then no ones are there, then ones, because the whatever the matrix we have in features, that is always here. In this case, that is in the sparse matrix. Sparse means maximum values are 0, I mean less values are 1, so we have only two values only, so easily it is assigned. That's why it's not giving the perfect result in this case, because it is very easy, if else condition for the z1 is this, then assign this, 0 is this, then assign this. That's why biasing is increased in that case. Okay, so that's why we are getting very bad result here. Training is good, but it is underfitting, so it will not work on the new data. Sorry, it is the overfitting, it will not work on the new data, and very huge difference, right? But in the case of decision tree, this is based on the probability, but we are getting somehow better model, right? That is 75% on training, right? Testing, sorry. Okay, now we are going to use different one. Okay, this is the way. If you want, I can share this code how to do a hyperparameter tuning. So here you see that different solvers I am using, and regression I am using as a penalty. So because if anyway if there is any overfitting, this penalty will reduce that overfitting. So there is a Rees and Lasso, two ways we are there. So what it does is remove the stiffness of that fitting. Stiffness, the stiffness I am talking about, the curve which you will get on the graph, that slope of that. So two are there. So Rees is, you can use the Lasso L1 also, right? Rees and Lasso to remove the overfitting. Okay, so here is the C value. Some parameters are there for this logistic regression. So you can run this kind of code in a low, and and there will be multiple combinations. Newton CZ with L2 100, Newton CZ with L2 and 10, LBF with 10, right? This linear one, right? With this the multiple combinations will be there. And for the multiple combinations, multiple accuracies are here available. You can see for the 77% the testing data, right? So in this case also not so much improved, 0.75 accuracy I am doing. So I have introduced this one. This I have introduced that you can use hyperparameter tuning also. What are the hyperparameters? Hyperparameters are parameters of the model. You have some parameters also, right? Like weight and bias, that are not hyperparameters. That are the parameter of the predicted model. In the case of regression, if I am talking about, so the hyperparameters of the model which you are going to use to classify your model or to create a classification model. Okay, now next one, support vector machine. Support vector machine will give you the robust model. First thing, whatever the accuracy will be in the training, almost it will be equal for the testing also, but it will be very slow. Support vector machine you can use in that case where you have more features than samples. There also it work perfect. So let me show you the difference between regression and support vector machine. Let me just search simply SVM how it work. See what happens here. What is the regression? Logistic regression. Logistic regression, if I am talking, I will have only one red line. So you may say that support vector machine is the modified version of logistic regression. So here we have three lines. So you may say this is the decision boundary, and we try to maximize this line, dotted line, and this dotted line will be on the samples, means the touching sample. What the samples are there, let's say this is a true samples and this is a false samples, right? So this, wherever this touch this true or false, that will be a line. So we always try to maximize this distance. In this case, this one, this distance, this one. Okay, always we try to maximize this distance. That is the difference. In logistic regression, what we do, simply we create one line which will differentiate the positive one and the negative one. Okay, so that is more robust if I'm talking about support vector machining comparison of logistic regression, because we are considering tree line. So we can say this is the street and these are the dotted line or the gutter beside beside this street. Okay, so what we try to maximize the distance between both gutter, between both these lines, and we don't require any true samples or false samples will lie between this. Okay, and this is the equation. Omega is the weight in this case. We just substitute the value. If it is coming positive, then it is the true. X is given, right? Weight are already we calculated, and bias is also we have calculated. If it is negative, then it will be classified as a false, like this. This is the regression, logistic regression, and what is the difference between support vector machines. So there is a big algorithm. It is not as simple as it is which I am explaining. So how it is derived, that is that you can search on YouTube, or if you need I can provide the link also for that, how this is derived. This is very old algorithm and still it works perfectly. Okay, now next here, using support vector machine, in this case we have more samples rather than predictors, right? So you see here what accuracy we are getting, very robust model we are getting. But if I run this, so from sklearn we are just importing this support vector machine. What will be the gamma value, what will be the random state, whatever the properties. There are lots of properties which you can provide here. What kind of kernel are you going to use, you can change that also. Okay, so if I go here, you see that there are different properties. Decision, what will be the decision function, there what will be the break and ties, there will break and ties also. Random state, right? What will the class weight, right? Cache size to make this model to run faster. So this will take around 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes when I run this model for the support vector machine, because in regression we had, in logistic regression we had only one line. In this case we have to maximize the distance between the gutter, right? That's why it takes more time. Okay, but the model which you will get, that will be the robust. If you have done the proper pre-processing, the support vector machine will be the best. Okay, now next, AdaBoost. And now what is the AdaBoost? Let's discuss about the AdaBoost. First of all, I will like to show you the random forest, how it works. Just a small definition of this, how random forest work. What it does, in random forest, first of all, we assume that our data is randomly distributed. When we use the random forest, it will create a multiple tree. How it creates? It takes the subset from that data. The data which I am saying that randomly distributed. It will take the subset, multiple times it will take. Let's say that I have assigned 3 trees, so 3 it will take. Okay, so from parallelly it will learn. This is let's say that number of trees I have provided 3. So one we got here, another we got here, then third we got here, right? Now majority voting. Let's say that I have to predict the apple. So majority of trees are predicting apples for this case. So it will be the apple. If majority of trees are predicting banana, then it will be the banana. So what it does, it takes the subset many times repeated. As we assume, if data are randomly distributed, if data are population, we assume that whatever the samples we have, they are population, and many times if we extract randomly subset, then whatever the subsets we will have, that will act as a population. Based on that, this random forest is designed. Okay, same way AdaBoost work, but it work in the sequential form, not in a parallel form. So how it work, let me show you. See this. Okay, what it does, let's say we have some positive and negative samples. First of all, we will take the sample from that, same as we took, as I explained in the random forest. Okay, it will predict, it will classify the model, that it will check the accuracy. You see that 2 plus are correctly predicted as a plus, but 3 are negative. 3 are wrong classified as a negative, right? So what it will do, it will keep this and it will try to correct this one which are wrongly predicted. Now you see that in this case these are correctly predicted, but still 3 negatives are wrongly predicted. So again it will try to correct this in the next sequence. This is the first sequence, then second, then third. But in random forest, all were running parallelly, right? So now you see this is also corrected. Now when you sum all these three, you will get this final result. That is AdaBoost, which I am talking. Sequentially, this is the weak learner, high bias, weak learner, high variability bias, high variability and bias, right? The final you will get, the variability will be low. It is designed in a such way that always your variability will decrease, right? That is the AdaBoost here, how it works. First it create the weak learner. On the weak learner, it will depends on you that how many number of iterations are you going to give, first iteration, second, and like this you will have the final sum of that. This is the AdaBoost. AdaBoost is better than random forest. So in this case, let's see what accuracy we are getting. So from this is a part of an ensemble library. So I am just importing that AdaBoost classifier. These are the estimators. How many number of iterations, I mean trees we want, right? And the default random state, because I don't want to change the sequence of training and testing data again, right? Okay, now we are fitting this. In this case, I am getting accuracy 64, and as I told, remember that it is designed in a such way that variability will decrease at every iteration, and you see very robust model we are getting. But still, the perfect model is till now logistic one, right? 0.75%. So as I told again, wherever the probability is used, that will be the best model. Now gradient boosting classifier, it is similar to AdaBoost, only the thing is that to the cost function which we use, I mean to minimize the cost function, we use the gradient descent. You can watch my previous video, you can check what is the gradient descent. So at every iteration, we try to reduce the error which we are getting from the output, then we subtract the original output from the predicted one at every iteration, and then we try to reduce that error. That is a gradient boosting classifier. So in this case, it's not very much perfect, not good accuracy, but model is more robust, right? Whatever the accuracy we are getting in the test training, same accuracy we are getting almost in the testing, but still we are not getting the high accuracy. Still this is not a completely probability, based on the probability. That's why we are not getting the good accuracy. So in this case, confusion chart, again here we have 3388 from non-sarcastic, that is predicted correctly, right? To 2700 wrongly classified in this case, very bad, right? Now we are going to talk about the Neve model. First of all, I will like to show you what is the formula of Neve, how it works. This is completely based on the probability. Let's say that A is my output, B is input. So B is given, I have to predict what will be the probability of A to get. If B is given, means inputs. In our case, what are the inputs? Features, right? Features in the form of 0, 1, that is Peirce matrix. And what we have to classify, what is A in this case, if it is sarcastic or not sarcastic, right? So this is the formula. So everything is given, right? Probability of A input is given, probability of output is given, but we have to calculate this part, right? Means if output is given, let's say A is the output is given, then what will be the probability of B? So in this case, we have data as a 0 and form. Very easily we can calculate this part, right? We have to count how many ones are there, zeros are there, based on that probability will be calculated. But if, let's say, if we had no data in a discrete form, let's say our data was continuous between 1 to 10, let's say it is data are continuous, it is not easy to calculate the probability, impossible. But because between 1 to 10, if I am saying what is the probability of 1.56666, you don't know that how many times that 1.5666 is repeated. Now let's say if I have discrete data, let's say 1552, what is the probability of 5? So 5 is repeated 2 times, so 2 by 4. That's very simple, right? So that's why Neve work perfect for the discrete predictors. Very easily it can calculate. But if you have continuous continuous predictors, in that case we use the Gaussian formula. So what is the Gaussian one? Let me show you. To calculate the B by A, means output is given, then what is the probability of input, then only we can calculate the probability of output if input is given. Gaussian equation you are already aware, right? So this is the Gaussian equation. So we use this function to calculate the probability of input if output is given, to get the output of output. Basically very simple, right? So we use this, but in this case we will, if we use this, because we have a discrete predictor, so it will not work. We will not get the accuracy good, because there will be compromisation always. If I am using this we are going to use Gaussian Neve in that case where you have a continuous predictors or features, you may say. So you see that I am using Gaussian Neve, and what accuracy I am getting? Not very much good. You see, it's still better than support vector machine and AdaBoost which we are using. That is fine. Here you see that I am using Gaussian Neve, means that formula. Okay, I am not using the discrete formula to calculate the probability. So in that case there is a multinomial. I will discuss later that one. So in this case I am using Gaussian NB, and I am fitting that, then I am calculating the score for the training and testing. You see that it's okay. 0.68 is for the training, 0.6 is for the testing. That's okay. Now, and this is the confusion chart. You see that still 2100 are misclassified from non-sarcastic, right? And 218 from the sarcastic misclassified. Okay. The good thing is here we can use multinomial Neve. In multinomial Neve, it doesn't calculate the Gaussian. It doesn't use this formula. Simple probability, count of 0 and 1, discrete probability it uses, and based on that it give the accuracy. And you see that if you compare with another algorithm, this one is the best. Still 0.33% is less in the case of testing, and little bit overfitting, you may say. But if you process your data well, pre-process your data well, you will get the perfect. In this case you see that 0.75%, 75% accuracy we are getting in this using the multinomial. So what I wanted to say that if you have an NLP kind of data, if you want to use machine learning, always use probability based machine learning. And you saw that in the normal condition, by providing the same splitting data, same features, and same random state, the accuracy is better of multinomial. You can get the better accuracy from AdaBoost. You can tune the hyperparameter, but you have to do less effort if you are using multinomial Neve, or if you are using logistic regression for 2 classes only. That will be better. Okay, and the last one, that is neural network. That is a very simple neural network which I am going to use here. So just TensorFlow I am just importing here. First of all, we have to provide our layers as a sequential form. There are different ways you can create layers. This is the one way how to do that. So okay, so Keras and TensorFlow both works together. Okay, so tf.keras model sequential, and in a bracket just provide the layer. So here you see that first layer is dense layer. Dense layer is simply y is equal to mx plus b equation, whatever it is doing. Then further we provide the non-linear activation functions. Here we are using rectified linear unit. Okay, so inputs we have 1000, remember, right, the features, and 5000 we are taking the number of neurons for the next layer. So it means total 1000 into 5000 weight will be created in the first layer, hidden layer, right? Then we are decreasing that size from 5000 to 1000. So in the next time the 10,000 into 10,000 weight bias will be created. Weight matrix, not a bias, weight matrix. Bias will be still 1000. Then again from 10,000 into 500 matrix of weights will be created with 500 bias. Then 50 into 500. So 3 layers I am using. 3, if I include this, then it will become 4 hidden layers, right? And also what I am doing, dropout layer I have also provided here. So if there is kind of overfitting, or let's say my gradient descent which I am using, it is vanishing or it is increasing, in that case what will happen, that automatically randomly 20% neurons will be closed, that will, the value will be 0 if there is overfitting. So that's here I have provided dropout layer. This is optional. If you are getting overfitting, we have provided the dropout layer also here. Okay, now see one thing more. We have two classes only. That's why the last activation layer will be always sigmoid. Why? We require a value between 0 to 1 to guess the probability of that model, right? So once we have this layer, if you have multiple classes, in that case your activation will be not sigmoid. In that case you are going to use the cross entropy, different activation layer, and it will pass through the this in this case binary cross entropy is there. In that case categorical cross entropy will be there in that case, and you are not going to use the sigmoid in that case. So always remember, ReLU you can use, not sigmoid in that case. Okay, so remember the sigmoid will work only for two classes. Okay, perfect. So here okay, this is a linear rectified unit, and if you have two classes, then you are going to use sigmoid one, right? And the binary cross entropy you are using for the yes and no for the two classes. And if you have multiple classes, depends that if you have one hot encoding or just the hard encoding, depends on based on that you can choose a categorical cross entropy also, right? So here this is a compile. What will be the loss function I have choose, what will be the optimizer, that is ADA grade. There are different, you can use SQM also, that gradient descent, they all are based on the gradient. It is the adaptive gradient descent, nothing more. That is a optimized or modified gradient descent to remove the gradient vanishing, because when the calculate the gradient descent for every layer, when you calculate the gradient descent for every layer, when you go to the lower layer, then always gradient descent is multiplied the value between 0 to 1, and that gradient descent value will be decreases at every layer. So there will be the gradient vanishing, or maybe if it is multiplied always the with the value greater than 1, then we'll get the higher value. So that is that, to overcome that issue you have to very careful about learning rate and what kind of gradient descent are you using. Or instead of ReLU you can use semi ReLU. There are different kind of rectified linear unit you can introduce. That's a very broad theory behind that. So I am using as the basic that how you can use this such kind of models to do such kind of tasks. Okay, okay. Next, once we have this, simply you have to, once you have created this black model with the properties T model, this T model dot fit training data, training data and the output of the training, right? Training data, these are the training data with the input and output, features and output. How many iterations are you going to run, and you want to display this purpose is what kind of display I want. So I want to display the accuracy of the training and the accuracy of the validation, right? Shuffling true, I want at every epoch my index will be shuffled, so this is optional. And validation data means after every epoch it will validate with the training and testing data in the same during the execution. So here you see, so we have the 6 epochs output, right? So first iteration, first epochs, not iteration, first epoch the loss was this, accuracy was 0.59, validation is also 0.59. So you see that for every epoch the validation accuracy is increasing. But if you increase the number of layers, a time will come that your validation accuracy will start decreasing and training accuracy will start increasing near to 1. In that case, that will be highly overfitting. You have to reduce the layer, you have to modify your deep learning layers in that case, your neural network in that case. So I have checked that for 5-6 epochs it was working fine, and you see still the training accuracy is 0.80 in the at 6 epoch, and testing is very low, 0.75. So still there is a overfitting in this case, right? So in this case we have all positive features. We may not require all these 3 layers. We don't require. What is a linear rectified? It's very simple. If negative value is there, it is making 0, otherwise it is making 1. So always we have positive in this case, right? Anyway, this is the way you can increase or decrease the layers also. Okay, So always you have to remember, if you have two classes, you are going to use sigmoid, okay, and your this loss function will be as a binary cross entropy in this case. Okay, so in this case still this is the accuracy 75%. So overall, if we compare what we found in this case, that the machine learning models which are based on probability, they are working better, right? Like in this case multinomial binomial Neve, sorry, multinomial Neve work better, right, in this case which we saw, right? So we have used continuous probability. We discussed that why this model is not better, because we are using this formula, right, continuous one. So that's why we are not getting the better accuracy. And this model, you will not believe, this multinomial model is very much faster than SVM and other models which we are using, decision tree, random forest. It will take just 30 seconds maximum to execute this, and as SVM if you run, it will take around 5 to 10 minutes to execute for this much samples. And here we are getting the better model. So that's all. If you have any query or any questions, you can write in comment. And if you and the links for the pre-processing, what is bigrams, diagrams, right, and what are these posts, I will share in that there. Thank you everyone to watching this video. If you have any questions, later I will post more videos on Python for machine learning and some other techniques also, how you can make easy your problems, how you can solve this. Thanks everyone.